Welcome back to the show once again. Of course, spring is just coming to an end. Like it ever happened in the first place. Summer about to start. People are getting out there more. They're starting to see all their friends again, going out to the beaches, and you want to look your best.
So how can you freshen up your face for the dating scene? Well, Dr. Frances Jang is here to tell us about all sorts of stuff. How are you?
Very good.
So just a splash of water and I'm good to go, right? That's it?
Well, it's a little bit more than that.
Now, what are we talking about today specifically?
Well, we're talking about really a combination of treatments now, because the science has come a long way in the last few years. So that the products now and techniques available that are safe and consistent.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the difference between Botox and fillers, because I didn't realize that there is a huge difference.
There is a lot of confusion out there. So these are two technologies that came around about the same period of time in a cosmetic application. So Botox is really a protein. It's a prescription drug that is injected into muscles to quiet them down. So we're using it in all sorts of applications in medicine. Particularly in my case, as a dermatologist, we're using it in generally the upper part of the face to quiet those muscles down in between your eyebrows, forehead lines, crow's feet, to just make them look softer and, importantly, prevent them from getting worse.
Okay.
And
fillers?
then fillers, predominantly we're talking about hyaluronic acid fillers, the so-called Restylane, Perlanes of this world. These have been around in Canada for over a decade now. And so they've got this wonderful track record of safety. It's a natural product. It's basically a sugar molecule. And it, as well, is injected. But it immediately plumps up the area and hydrates the skin where it's placed. So generally we use it in this part of the face.
So Botox for this part, and then fillers are used down here. Now, the fascinating thing to me that I didn't realize until it came up that you were coming on the show is that men do this too. I had no idea. Do you get a lot of men coming to look in fresher?
Thank you for noticing, Fiona.
Michael, you're looking fresh and young today.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the guys are kind of getting it now. So they're sort of seeing their better halves, let's say, looking good, looking better, maintaining themselves, and they're realizing they want this as well. And typically we'll see men in their 40s who generally take good care of themselves. They're going to the gym, they're eating right, but they're starting to see in their faces that they look a little bit, what I call environmentally stressed.
Right.
So a little bit of lining, a little bit severe looking, a little bit beaten up. And so that's where Botox and a little bit of filler used with restraint, because we don't want the guys to look primped up, can do a lot to make their face more match with the other half.
Well, and I guess one of the other things that feeds into this as well is you're seeing a lot of people coming out of marriages in their 30s and 40s as well, and they are getting back out of the scene, and it really sort of makes you pause.
Yeah, that definitely can be a motivator. So we see that group of people as well. They're back on the dating scene. They want to look their best, and it's truly, I often say it's not about the wrinkle. It's very empowering for people.
Okay, let's look at some before and afters. These are always amazing. We're going to start with the women. This is a huge transformation. Tell us what this woman had done.
So this is Gail, and Gail is in her 50s. She's a very thin woman, and she's fair-skinned as well. So she sort of comes by her wrinkles a little bit more honestly, in a sense that genetically she'll be prone to getting a little bit more wrinkling and looking a little bit gaunt, one could say. So she came in with no real ideas, but what we ended up doing was putting Botox, as I talked about previously, in the upper part of her face, so in between her eyebrows, forehead lines, and her crow's feet. So she's gotten a little bit of lift. You can see her lines actually 2 weeks later look quite a bit softer.
Yeah.
And then we went ahead and put fillers in the bottom 2/3 of her face. So underneath her eyes, in the little groove in there, in the area where we call the medial part of the cheeks, or the nasojugal groove. And so she just looks less gaunt. She looks freshened up.
And she doesn't look done.
She doesn't look done, which is so important. We get that time and time again. We don't want to look done. And that's why I go back to, you want somebody who's not just got the technique and the experience, but also is going to have an aesthetic sense for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's look
one
at
of the guys I think we have next.
This is one of the dudes, and this is a perfect example of what we were talking about before. You're seeing more men come in, and they definitely want to maintain the manly ruggedness as they go. Talk us through this, Dr. J.
So this is Mike, and Mike is in his late 30s, early 40s, I can't quite recall. He's kind of out there, he's a stylish kind of guy, and he was finding that he looked a little bit too severe. So he came in asking for advice. So we just did a little bit of Botox in him, in between his eyebrows and at the tail of his eyebrows, to raise his eyebrows, and also at his crow's feet. And I think you can see the before and after on his crow's feet. They look they're not totally effaced. They're not completely gone, but
Yeah.
they're softer.
And he looks less angry.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other area we did was we put the filler in between here to just lift up the area that
Because
was
that's what
sinking.
happens as you age. Not that I've
Gravity
noticed
gets
anything
us.
as you go. How long does it usually last? I mean, if you're having these techniques done and you're looking for that sort of freshen up kind
So
of
that's
idea.
the wonderful thing. Botox, you're going to end up doing probably 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah.
The nice thing about it is that over time, once you kind of train the muscles, and once the muscles have somewhat weakened in their ability to move, you're going to be using less drug and perhaps be able to space out your
And what about
appointments a
Restylane?
bit. And with Restylane, you're probably looking at somewhere between 8 months to 15 months. However, what we're finding clinically is that once you've done a certain area a few times with Restylane, let's say in the lips, we don't find people have to come back as often. So for some reason, there is some sort of collagen buildup,
Right.
and you get a longer or more semi-permanent fill. So that's kind of
Very cool.
gratifying for people because everybody gets a little bit of, you get tired of coming
Making
in
the
and again.
appointments
Yeah,
and
making the
coming in all
appointments.
the
It's a
time.
bit
Let's look at
too much
lips.
maintenance.
Yeah, lips are big,
Yeah.
I know, for a lot of girls, and I'm sure some guys
Yeah.
as well. But this gives them a good idea.
Well, this is 2 examples. On the upper, you'll see a pair of lips in a younger person. There's some obvious asymmetry before when she's smiling, and then that's corrected. We also get young girls with smaller lips that want more balance, but
Yeah.
it doesn't have to necessarily look overly done. On the bottom, we get the other group of people that have the shrinking lip, where they kind of disappear and there's a little bit of wrinkling around the mouth.
And we should mention this is immediately
Immediately
post.
so you get that bee stung look, but I can reassure you that within about 2 or 3 days, that look is gone. Yeah.
Okay, I want to get to the last picture because people
Yeah.
with acne scarring, I mean, what a life transformation this must have been for this person to get rid of those scars.
Yeah, so we can't forget that dermatology is not just about making somebody from neutral to better. It's about somebody who has some real pathology. So here we have acne, and to reinforce that we just can't treat the acne, we want to treat the marks that follow the acne as well. And that's a combination of laser work and our chemical peels.
Amazing.
So it is amazing. Yeah, we can do a lot now. The pixelated lasers or the fractionated lasers have really allowed us to work on darker skins like this without harm.
That's
Very cool.
incredible.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank
thank
you,
you so
Dr.
much, Dr.
You're
Jang.
very
If you want to find out
welcome.
more, you can go to Dr. Jang's website to find out all the information about what we were talking about today.
We're going to take a break when we